Hey everyone, welcome to episode 9 of my Stretch Your Stamps scrapbooking video series. This month, we're going to be doing something a bit different. Just in time for some spring cleaning, I'm joined by my friends Michelle Lundy, who is Michelle's Empty Nest on Instagram and here on YouTube, Chelsey Vorasmarty, and Linda Jordan, who is Linda Loves Creating on Instagram and on YouTube. And we're going to be sharing our favorite ways to store stamps and other stamping related products like inks and ink swatches and things like that. Before I dive into this month's video, here are some projects that were shared on Instagram using the hashtag SYS scrapbooking over the last month. Ashley Horton was one of my guest contributors for last month's videos, and those were featuring digital stamps. And I just love how she layered a textured overlay over the digital alphabet stamps that she used in this background to give them a bit more texture. Shannon Manton was another guest contributor last month, and I just love how she used a masking technique on Photoshop to stamp her digital title stamp with all these bright and fun colors. Amber Dawson was my next guest contributor, and she made 4 different ideas for her layouts featuring digital stamps in her travel album. And as a person who appreciates some good sparkle and shine, I just love that she featured sparkly things like foiling and glitter vinyl in 3 out of her 4 ideas. For my contributions last month, I shared a few different ways to use digital stamps without having to use Photoshop, and I ended up making 2 layouts using the Ali Edwards and Laura Wanzik Swirls digital stamp set, as well as some other digital stamps from Ali Edwards. Make sure to check out all of those videos in my Stretch Your Stamps scrapbooking playlist if you missed any last month. Mel Davis created this gorgeous spread using some stamps from Altenew, and I love that she was able to use her inks to coordinate her floral embellishments with her bright and colorful background. Tiffany Mitchell shared this absolutely adorable spread this month. I really love how she used the label stamp from Ellie's Studio to create additional layers in these 3 embellishment clusters around her layout. And Tori, who is Craft Girl Magic 12 on Instagram, created this fun layout using some stamps from Everyday Explorers to fill up the white spaces around her journaling. And I just love how all of those blues go well together. Just a reminder that if you'd like to share some layouts on Instagram inspired by our Stretch Your Stamps videos, make sure to use the hashtag SYS scrapbooking on Instagram, and I'll pick out a few to feature in my video next month. For today's video, I'll start off by going over how I like to store all of my stamps. Then I'm going to share the different ways I store all of my inks that I use for stamping, as well as the system that I use to keep all of my ink swatches organized. And at the end of the video, I'll also be going over the drawers where I keep all of my most commonly used stamping related items, like all of my black inks and my inking blocks. So here's a peek inside my very messy craft room, and you'll see that I have 2 shelving units here. One was made by my dad, and the one on the right is from Target. It's kind of like one of those knockoff IKEA cubes, but the cubes are actually smaller than those in the IKEA Calyx shelving unit. And on top here, I have all these containers that hold my card making stamps. And then if I go kind of down, trying not to make you guys dizzy, you'll see that I have 3 more plastic containers, and those are all of my scrapbooking stamps. So I'm just going to go through the card making stamps quickly, just to show you kind of like a brief overview of how I have them organized. They are kind of organized in the same way as my scrapbooking stamps, but obviously the categories are a bit different. So I'm just going to go through them quickly here. Here I have all of my stamps from the Sassy Club. These are all kind of like pop culture stamps. So she has like Alice in Wonderland and Totoro here, and Disney ones as well. So I have all of her stamps grouped together, and then behind that I have all of the critter stamps that I like to color in when making cards and things like that. And then the next organizer here, I have kind of two. So this is a wider organizer where you can hold two sets of stamp pockets. And I'll go over the stamp pockets and things that I use as well later on. And here I have them sorted by occasion. So I have like mixed sentiments, I have thank you, Valentine's Day, other. Here I have birthday, wedding anniversary, baby, new home, sorry and get well, other occasions like Father's Day, Mother's Day, and Chinese New Year. And then I have graphic type stamps. And these, of course, I can use for scrapbooking as well. This one I actually use for my stamp ink swatches. So I will actually pull that out because I'll be showing that to you guys a bit closer later on. And then I have the floral stamps in the back. And then next I have a lot of other stamps here that can also be used for scrapbooking. So I have, this is all Harry Potter stamps. It's actually kind of embarrassing how many I have. Most of them are from the Sassy Club, although some of them are from Echo Park and some other ones are from Kelly Perky. And then all of my background stamps are organized here. And then my Christmas dies and Christmas stamps. And then these ones in the back here are actually all dies. So I won't go into too much detail, but I do have magnetic sheets in here to hold the ones that have more than one die, and most of my dies are in here. And then moving on to this section here, I have kind of like oversized stamps. So these ones are kind of like the 4x6 sizes, and then these ones here are kind of like 6-inch wide stamps that are 6 inches tall, or in some cases 8 inches tall. So I have Christmas background stamps, floral stamps, and sentiment stamps in the back. And then my last section here, I have a bunch of things that add texture. So embossing folders, stencils, and then I have some miscellaneous oversized dies here. And then in this last section here, I also have this smaller container that is just storing these smaller monogram stamps from Concord and 9th. I have the full set of A to Z, plus a few of the punctuation marks. And I just have them in there because this container is a bit narrower, and I'll be talking more about the containers later on. Behind that, I have some of the Altenew layering cardstock papers. I used this pack recently in one of my digital scrapbooking videos. I think that was the last Stretch Your Stamps video, actually. And then here I have some random yarny things that I haven't figured out where to put yet. But that is all for the card making stamps. And next I'll go over to my desk to show you in detail about the scrapbooking stamps. So here on my desk, you'll see that I have my 3 bins of scrapbooking stamps, and the containers themselves are, these smaller ones are from Amazon, and these larger ones here are from Bed Bath & Beyond, which is like a store in Canada. I'll try to leave links down in the description box below if these are still available, but these two are the larger ones. So just moving this aside, you can see that I've kind of matched this one up in the back, and it is a bit shorter than the larger one, and it's a bit shorter in terms of the length as well, but the width is pretty much the same. So these smaller ones are about 8 inches wide by 10.5 inches long. And then the height is about 3¼ inches, whereas these larger ones are a bit wider than 8 inches. I think this one is, yeah, they're about the same width. This one is 4 inches tall, and this one is 13.5 inches deep. So I have two of the larger guys, one of the smaller guys for scrapbooking, and then in terms of card making, I have two of these larger ones on the shelf, plus one of the smaller ones, plus another one that I'll show the dimensions of in a second. But just to give you an idea of how I've organized all of my scrapbooking stamps, you can see that I don't have as many scrapbooking stamps as I do card making. And that's just because I've been card making for quite a while longer than I've been scrapbooking. And I think, like, when I'm making cards, I want to make things more from scratch. So I want to be able to stamp the images myself, color them in, build a background out of background stamps, or other things like that. Whereas when I'm scrapbooking, I'm more looking for using pattern papers and journaling cards, and then just kind of adding the stamps as accents. So I think that's why I'm satisfied with like less scrapbooking stamps, although I do have a habit of buying more than I need. As you can see, you definitely don't need this many stamps for scrapbooking. But I've left enough room so that I can kind of grow as well if I want to start accumulating more stamps. So the majority of my stamps are stored in this one container here, and this is how I like to keep most of my stamps organized. So I have this front section that's for tags, labels, and prompts. I just stuck my memory decks dies in here as well, just so that this was like the category that it made most sense to me to put this in. But like I have my Ellie Studio tab stamps, as well as like all the sentiments that can fit into those tabs. I have ones from Coco Daisy, ones from Kelly Stamps, Everyday Explorers, and these are all labels or things that I can fill in, as well as these props from Everyday Explorers, which can fit really nicely into these some of these larger labels and spaces like that. So that all goes in the first section here. The second section here is all about food. So I have quite a few food stamps. I feel like I do want to get more of them, but just some from Kelly Stamps. I have the chocolate stamps, Food Story, some beer related stamps, some old ones from Kelly Perky, and one from Everyday Explorers back here. And one thing that I'll note is that for my card making supplies, I do have some of the storage containers that can store just these thinner stamp sets, which are, let's see what this measures. Oopsies. So this is 4 inches by 6. Okay, so I was right, 4 by 6. But because I don't have a lot of scrapbooking stamps yet, I didn't feel like I had enough of these narrower stamp sets to fill up one of these larger ones that I'll be showing you in a moment. So that's why I just decided to go with the larger ones, so that I could store all of the same category stamps in the same stamp storage container, with the exception of these ones that I'll get into in a bit. So I have food, and then I have hobbies, news, and currently. So this is kind of like my life right now type section. So I have news stamps, I have shopping stamps, lockdown life. A lot of those are kind of like currently type stamps, music, mail, currently doing, things like that. So those all go in that section. And then my next section after that is all travel and outdoorsy stamps. And these are mostly from Everyday Explorers, Studio Calico, and Kelly Perky. And then I have family and people. I only have 3 stamp sets in here, so I definitely need to have more stamps in this category, I think. And then just stamps in general. So stamps that don't really belong in another category, I've kind of put here. And there are definitely stamp sets that cross different categories, but like when I'm looking at a stamp set, I generally look at what types of stamps I'm more likely to look for in that stamp set and then sort them under that category. And then my last section here is all for December daily. So some of them are from Ellie Edwards that I got last year, and some of them are from Everyday Explorers. I have Ellie Studio, Cocoa Daisy, and some of these bigger ones I haven't put into stamp sleeves yet. I'll be talking about the stamp sleeves in a second, but I just ran out of the large stamp sleeves, so that's why these are still in their original packaging. I do like these stamp sleeves because they have like a little flap that you can use to keep all your stamps together if some of them start to fall off the packaging. And plus, if there's any dies associated with that, then I can include them here as well as any stencils or other things that I make using those stamp sets. So moving on to these two bins here. I'll start with this bin here first. So this is mostly my alphabet stamps. So everything from this front one here to this section here are all alphabet stamps. And some of these I've accumulated for card making, and then I just kind of enjoy collecting fonts. So I've collected a lot of the Ellie Edwards ones as well. And the reason why I have the Citrus Twist and the Ellie Edwards ones separately is because I am on the Citrus Twist Kits design team. And as well, I am an ambassador for the Ellie Edwards brand. So whenever I'm making projects for them, I like to have their stamps kind of separated out so that I can make projects using their products. And again, I had ran out of some of the stamp storage sleeves. I try saying that 10 times fast. But I do have most of them organized here, and the Ellie Edwards ones, and these are all of my other alphabet stamp sets. So I can tell you right now, I have definitely too many alphabet stamp sets, but does that stop me from getting more? Probably not. And then the last two sections here are for, this one is days, weeks, and months. So this kind of has like all of the days of the week stamps and like month stamps and things like that. And some of these can overlap with the planner stamps, like these ones probably can be used for planners. I just kept them together because they were the same font from Cocoa Daisy. And then these ones also you can probably use for planners, but I just decided to separate anything that was specifically like with numbers and days of the week here, and then any of the checklist type stamps in this section here. So things that like specifically making checklists and things like that. Sorry for the glare, but that is this container. And then my very last container, which is the smaller one for scrapbooking, has all of my story stamps at the very front. Now, I haven't put these into sleeves yet. I don't know if I want to or not. It's definitely easier to see them in sleeves versus just clear like this. But I do have them all sorted in alphabetical order so that it is easier for me to find. These, of course, are all from Ellie Edwards. And then after that, I have my Ellie Edwards exclusive stamps and then my Citrus Twist exclusive stamps. Again, just to make it easier when I'm making design team projects or projects for the Ellie Edwards brand ambassador, I can pull these out and look for stamp sets really quickly. So I just wanted to share these two sizes of stamp containers really quickly. This one I had shared that holds my card making stamps as well, and this is the one that can hold the 2 rows of the 4x6 stamp sleeves. And so this one measures, I think it was 11, oh, this one measures 12 inches wide, and the depth is the same as these large containers here. So if you can kind of see that they are the same depth. And then this one here, that's a bit smaller, that I use to hold my smaller stamps. They don't hold all of my smaller stamps because I do have some of them stored in like 2 stamps per sleeve on in some of these dividers here. But these ones specifically are my Concord and 9th monogram stamps. And these measure, let's see, 5 inches wide, and these are actually a bit longer than these containers and these containers are. So if you can see here, try not to drop anything off my desk. These ones kind of go up to here, and then these ones go up to here. So there's a bit of a difference here, and this distance is 16 inches. So what I might end up doing later on as I start to collect these, I'm only up until April because I just started subscribing to the Stories by the Month kit this year. I might just include these in with these smaller stamps as well, and then make like a little divider here, and then perhaps store some of my yarny things where it's more appropriate to store them instead of with all of my paper crafting things. So I am thinking about doing that. Here are the 3 types of stamp pockets that I usually use, and these ones can hold most of the different types of stamps that I have. So the most common ones that I have are the ones that hold these 4x6 stamp sets, or 2 of some smaller stamp sets. Let me see if I can find them. So yeah, they can hold 2 of these smaller stamp sets, and these ones are 3 inches by 4 inches. So they could hold 2 of those or 1 of the larger stamps. And the ones that I have in here are a mixture of the ones from the Checkout Store brand and ones from the Avery Elle brand. So I first started buying these from the Avery Elle brand, and I found they worked really well, but they were kind of expensive. So then I found this other brand from Amazon, and when I looked at them closely, like I think I could tell a slight difference between this one and the Avery Elle one. This one is kind of a bit cloudier, I think. Like, I wonder if I can try to find some different ones. No, those both look the same. But like if you can see here towards the back section, I have 3 layers of this envelope, of course, because I have the front side and then the side that I've tucked in, plus this back side. And you can kind of see that it's maybe a bit cloudier and less transparent. But in terms of being able to see the stamps, I can pretty much see them just as easily as I can with the Avery Elle ones, to the point where I've pretty much I only bought like I think 2 packs of the Avery Elle ones, and then the rest of my stamps have all been stored in the Checkout Store brand. They're just a bit cheaper, so I can save a bit of money that way. And the stamp sleeves themselves are 5 3/4 inches wide by 7.5 inches tall. And I always like to cut a piece of white cardstock to let me see the stamps a bit better as well, because it's a bit harder to see when they're all just piled in there like that. And in these envelopes, I don't have any of the empty envelopes on hand right now because they're just being shipped out right now. I just placed an order, but I do have some white pieces of cardstock. This is just some cheap cardstock from Michael's that I cut down to 5 3/8 of an inch by 7 1/8 of an inch tall, and I just keep that sticky note with the measurements there so that if I ever have to trim more cardstock, I have that and I don't have to measure it again. The second most common size of stamps I have is these larger stamp sets, like from Everyday Explorers does them, Ellie Edwards does them, Carrie Bradford does them as well. I'm sure many other companies, Citrus Twist does them. And these stamp sets measure about 6 inches by 8 inches. So the stamp sleeves themselves are about 6 3/4 inches wide by 9.5 inches tall. And then I do cut some white cardstock pieces for those as well. And those measure 6.5 inches by 9.25 inch. And these ones I've gotten, I lost the original packaging for this, but these are also from the same checkout store brand, although they are currently sold out on Amazon, at least in Canada, so I have ordered the Avery L ones to replace these ones, and they should be coming in sometime soon, hopefully, because I still have a lot of stamp sets to put away. And then the third type of stamp that I have, these ones I've primarily found in card making companies. So companies like My Favorite Things or Inka Dinka Dough have stamp sets that are 4 inches wide by 8.25 inches tall. So those definitely can fit in these larger pockets, but then they just kind of look like there's too much space overhanging the side. So I decided to use these smaller pockets, and these are actually like page protectors for these binders by Avery. So this is a different company than Avery L. Avery L makes stamps and crafty products, and Avery makes like stationery products. So these are sheet protectors, and these are 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches apparently. And so, of course, they have like the holes that you can use to put into binders. But what I do is I just trim using a paper trimmer, like slightly to the left of this line here. And then that just leaves the seam intact so that I can put my stamps in there. And this is what they look like. Of course, no organization system would be complete without labels. So this is my brother label maker. I got a pink one because I thought it looked cute, but I'm sure there are many other ones out there that do essentially the same thing. So there are 2 different types of widths of labels that I use. And these are probably, some of these are probably knockoff brand ones too. Let me see. Yeah, I'll put a link on my YouTube channel for the Amazon ones that I found that work just as well. You do have to be careful and make sure that the label is white, because I have accidentally ordered some that are clear instead of white, and then you don't get that same look of the label. Like you can see like the label part is transparent, like clear tape, and then you just have the typing on that, and it doesn't look as coherent to me, so I like to have all of mine be the white ones, and I label all of them with the company and what the name is of the stamp set. Now, one thing that I have found is Ellie Edwards doesn't really have very descriptive titles for her stamp sets, so I don't have any in this container, of course, because all of my Ellie Edwards stamps are separate. Actually, I might have some December daily ones here. So for the Ellie Edwards ones, I do label them with like the collection that they belong in, as well as the year, just so that they're a bit easier to distinguish, because like her alphabet stamps, for example, or like even the Paisley Press one, I think like next year, if she has a Paisley Press collection, it will probably just be a Paisley Press stamp. So this way I know at least what year it's coming from. And so the label that I use to label the tops of the stamp sets are the 12mm tape. So you can see here that it's a bit wider, and that allows you to type in the 2 rows of text. So all you have to do is type like Ellie Edwards, and then press the enter button and then type in like alphabet and then print it, and then it would come out in the 2 lines. So I just like to kind of batch do them. Like I'll type in the company and sort out all of my new stamps by that company, and then I'll just batch do them and print out like a really long list of all of the stamp sets that I've accumulated over like the last 6 months, because I only really do this like twice a year during spring cleaning. And then I'll just sit and cut papers for a while, and then I'll just kind of assembly line stick the stamp set in and then label them and then put them away, stick the stamp set in, label them and put them away. And then that way it keeps things organized and hopefully a bit easier to find. And then in terms of these dividers here, I've made them just by laminating some Kraft cardstock. This is just some 65-pound cardstock from Michael's. And then I used my We Are Memory Keepers. I even have it here. This angle corner puncher with the rounded corners. And I used the 1/2-inch rounded corner to round all the corners here, just because I found that after you laminate things, the corners tend to be really sharp. So to prevent myself from getting scratched up by all of these dividers, I like to round the corners. And then I like to put the labels on top of the laminated part. So like I laminate the piece of cardstock before I put these labels on, and that's just because I found that I like to change the categories quite often. Like sometimes I'll be unsatisfied with like let's say the hobbies and news and currently category, and like one day if I have like too many hobbies stamps, I might separate that out into its own category and then keep news and currently there. So this way I can just peel off that sticker if I want to, and then I can always use the back side if I need to as well, if this doesn't come off. And so those labels are made with the 6mm label sticker. And so you can see that these are a bit thinner than these ones. And same thing, I'll make like tons of dividers at the same time. When I did this tray, I made all of the dividers at the same time and just labeled them all and then stuck the stamps all into place. And I do like to keep all of my organization supplies together in this organizer here that I just put horizontally into one of those false calyx shelves that these stamp organization containers are sitting on top of. So I have all of my stamp sleeves, as well as some magnetic sheets if I need to store some dies, as well as some easy mount for what do you call them? If you have like rubber cling stamps that you need something to cling onto, like if you want to unmount them from wooden stamps, I have those as well. And then with this, I always keep my label maker as well as some refills for these label maker machines. So you can see that these are clearly not the Brother brand. And like I said, I'll put a link down in the description box below if you want to save a couple of dollars. And they do work perfectly well. So I have no problems recommending them. Moving on to my ink storage. So if you've watched any of my stamping videos, you'll know that I love my Altenew dye inks. And I have 2 containers almost worth of these dye ink cubes. And they're really bad because they keep coming out with new colors and I keep wanting them all. So these mini dye ink cubes come in sets of 4. Let's try not to hit my lights while I'm opening these containers. And these I've stored in some clear boxes from close to my heart. Now, I think these have been retired since I bought them, but I did buy an extra one. So I have 3 of these plastic cases and quite a few of these inserts. You can fit 2 inserts here. So I have 2 layers of inks in each one of these containers, and each container holds, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 2, 4, 5. So that's 40 inks. And I just love Altenews inks because they come in like every color you can imagine, right? And they're always coming out with more. And also because they layer really nicely and coordinate really nicely together. So they do come in sets of 4. I have them ordered like 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, etc. I'm going in rainbow order down, and then I have a continuation of that in my second box. And all of these 4 shades are designed to be going from the lightest to the darkest and kind of layering, because Altenews does have a lot of layering stamps. If you would like more details on that, I do have a stamp video, I think with floral stamps, that shows how I layered together some of the purple inks. And so this is where the majority of my colored inks are, but I do have some more different types of inks as well. So currently I have most of my larger ink pads stored in these Deflecto containers. You can also get them from Michaels as well. And traditionally they come with one that has like a 2 partition container, and then a 1 partition, and then one that is the width of 3 partitions. And it's the 3 partition ones that I really like for storing ink cubes. So these are all of my Ali Edwards inks. These are in fact all of the Ali Edwards inks that are available in the shop right now. I think there's one that I don't have, the Redwoods one, which was sold out when I had, no, not the Redwoods. One of the red ones in any case was sold out. But I can still fit one more, I think, plus maybe a couple vertically if I want to store them vertically, or I could always expand into these 2 sections as well. But I've just labeled them on the 2 sides with the names. So one on this side and one on that side. And that's just so that I can easily tell which color I want just by looking at this container. And I love how these containers are clear and stackable as well. So these are a bit tricky to close, but these do stack on top of each other. So if you had 2 of these, you can see this one currently holds all of my distress inks and distress oxide inks. I do have another full double-sided one with just distress oxide inks, and another full double-sided one with just distress inks, because these ones can hold, let me see if I can count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these can hold 24 of the distress colors each, and I have them all that have been released so far. And I think Tim is doing a couple more, so I will definitely have room for those ones. But the distress inks, I've labeled them on all 4 sides just because they are cubes, and so it's just a bit easier to label them like that. And so whichever way I put them in this container, I can easily find them. Unfortunately, I don't really have like any system of which of the, so I have 3 containers like this of the distress oxides and 3 in the distress inks. And there's not really like any sort of order that I'm putting these in, so that makes it a bit harder to find. But so far, I haven't really minded just looking through and seeing all the different colors that I have. And another note is that I haven't bothered to label which ones are distress oxide inks and which ones are distress inks, because the distress ones are clearly black in the casing, and then the distress oxide ones are kind of this like silverish color. So I haven't labeled them as such, but just with the names. And as promised, I will show you that these can be layered together. So the handle has these 2 silver things that you can just push outwards and then just layer them on top of one another like so. And then they just snap into place like that. And then you can carry around the whole case. And I have, so I have 1 full one of distress oxide, 1 full one of distress inks, one with half and half, and one with my Ali Edwards ones. So I have 4 of them stacked up in the corner of my room there, so that whenever I want to get any different types of inks other than my Altenew inks, I know where to find them. Of course, it's very important to have ink swatches just to know what types of inks apply differently and how they apply differently on paper compared to how they look in the ink pad, and even compared to how they look on the labels. So I have swatched all of my inks out here, and the way that I swatch them is different for each different type of ink. So for the Altenew dye inks, I swatched them in terms of the set of 4, and then I swatched them together using one of the floral layering stamp sets, just to show how they look when they're layered together. So I have one of those done for each of the sets of 4 colors that are in the Altenew line. There are some new ones that I haven't gotten yet, and I don't think I will get them because they don't come in sets of 4, and that's just going to wreck the way that I have this binder set up. So I'm still trying to decide about that. And for the Distress Oxides, I have them swatched that I do the stamping first, and then I also do some ink blending around the edges. And that's because when I'm using Distress Oxide inks, I like to stamp with them, but I also like to blend with them. So to me, it's important to see how that looks like when I have them swatched on paper. So I have kind of going in a rainbow order, and I just kind of arbitrarily put this rainbow together. I'm sure not all of these are in the right order, but because Tim Holtz is going to be releasing new colors anyways, I figured I'll just kind of stick them in, and then when he's done releasing all of the colors, then I can go and follow his order that he has put together. And then for the Distress inks, because I don't stamp with those and I only do inking techniques and blending and things like that, I only have the color blended swatches here. And then for the Ali Edwards stamps, for the inks, I only stamp with them, and I don't really ink blend with them as much. So that's why I only have the stamped impressions there, including all of these metallic ones. I really love that metallic silver. It's probably one of my favorite ones from her. So just to note that the templates that I've used to create all of these ink swatches are from Jennifer McGuire. So she's created this template that is editable in Microsoft Word. I'll leave a link down in the description box below too, so that you can find this. But basically you just go in, you edit the name, and then there's a space for like what type of medium this is. So like what company, or what, like these are alcohol inks that I've made all of these templates for. And then what you do is you just cut from the right side first, and you cut all the way to this edge here, and then you cut along the vertical lines here to make these 2x2 squares that you can then put into binders. So you can definitely, if you have any spare binders that you have for scrapbooking that hold 2x2 little pockets, you can definitely put them in there instead. But I've just chosen to use these pocket-sized pocket protectors. I think these are supposed to be used for coins, and I just got this at a local hobby shop like years and years ago. I'll try to link one in the description box below as well, but any pockets will do. And the stamp that I usually use for stamping out my swatches is this one from My Favorite Things. This is called Abstract Art, and I use this one here. It is probably one of my most used stamps of all time, because I always use this to do my swatches. And I used to have more inks than this, if you can imagine. I used to have some from Hero Arts as well, but I just stashed them and gave them to my sister so that I wouldn't be completely overwhelmed with all these colors. And this stamp set is currently retired, but you can use any, usually I prefer like a solid image so that you can see exactly how that color is going to turn out on your page. Here, just below my printer and my cutting machine, I do have a drawer full of some things that I like to use with stamping. So I have all of my embossing powders most of them actually here. I have been thinking of labeling the tops with a swatch of what the embossing powder looks like, but generally I don't have too many of them, so I am usually able to just tell at a glance like what they would look like if they were embossed. So I haven't gotten around to labeling them yet, but most of them are there. I don't know where this one came out of, maybe there. And I do have my sticky embossing powders as well as my flocking embossing powders and things like that. So those are all in that tray. And then I have perfect pearls in this tray as well as one of these mini misters that I had filled up with water and some perfect pearls to kind of make like a shimmer mist. And these can be used with not embossing powder. These can be used with Versamark ink because Versamark ink is sticky enough that these can stick to them and you can kind of have like a shimmery surface. Or you can use them with the Distress embossing ink or some of these, where are they? Perfect mediums. So I have those as well. I've been looking for another container. They sold out at Michael's, but I really want another one so that I can store all this other stuff that is just hiding behind there. And I have some leafing as well here that is just there because I have nowhere else to put it. And the last ink storage thing or stamping related storage thing that I have in my craft room is this second drawer here that sits just beside my crafting table. And this has all of my commonly used stamping items. So all of my stamping blocks, these are from Inkadinkado. I like the fact that they have ridges for my fingers that I can hold them, and they're thick enough that I don't have to worry about accidentally touching the paper and my fingers getting in the way. And I also have my embossing buddy. This is the powder tool that I use to remove any stray oils when I'm doing embossing. And I also have my most commonly used black inks. So I have my Gina K black amalgam ink. I have my archival ink for stamping on slick surfaces. I have my Lawn Fawn jet black ink here as well, although I don't use that one as much as these two. And then I have my Versamark ink for embossing, a little mini spritzer if I want to do any like watercoloring with my stamping. And then a new date stamp for 2022 and onwards that I haven't even unpackaged yet. I really have been bad at stamping all of my layouts. I do have my past roller date stamp as well as a time roller stamp here from Ali Edwards that I've just kept here. This stamp is probably my second most common used stamp, and this I stamp on the back of every single card that I hand make. And then I sign in that blank after it's been stamped directly on the card on the back. So that is such a special stamp to me that I bought it in a backup version, which is this mounted one that's mounted on a wooden block. And then here I have some cute little acrylic, what are these called? Stamping blocks. From Sassy Club. So I have one from her Sailor Moon collection and one from the Hello Kitty collection. You can kind of see the design, right? I just think these are so cute. And one from her Harry Potter collection. And these are, unfortunately, I think probably all sold out because they are limited edition, but she does do some releases of these periodically, so I'll leave a link down in the description box below to her site if you're interested in checking those out. And then this is just a tray of some of the smaller ink cubes that I haven't really found storage for yet. This set of archival inks from the Ranger line, I'm probably going to put in one of those metal tins that holds these shapes of archival inks. These two I got in a kit from a while ago, and I haven't decided if I wanted to keep them or not. They're a bit too bright for my liking for archival inks. Generally when I'm stamping in archival inks, I'm stamping on either slick surfaces, so I'm doing maybe like December daily projects, which is why I wanted the blue and the red and the green, or I'm stamping things that I want to color in, which is why I have the neutral tones like this gray and the brown, for example. And then these color box inks, this is still in a wrapped package. I think I had a different one at another point in time that was not wrapped that I like to use for the metallic inks. But now that I have the Ali Edwards ones, I think I might just get rid of these as well. But they're all just here so that I can use them, and they're nice and conveniently stored here. And then the drawer below that is where I keep my ink swatch binder for easy access. I hope you enjoyed those tips and tricks for organizing your stamps and inks. I would love to see how you store your crafty stash as well, so don't forget to use the hashtag SYS Scrapbooking to share your best tips for stamp and ink storage. And make sure to check out Michelle, Chelsey, and Linda's videos as well. I'll be sharing new episodes for my Stretch Your Stamps scrapbooking video series on the second Saturday of each month, so make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel for more stamping inspiration. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you liked this video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the notification bell for more process videos from me. Thanks so much for watching.